And we are live again. Whoa, another rough weekend. This one wasn't too bad. Mostly snow. Had a lot of snow this weekend. And that reminds me to get something done here today. But ton of snow. I just spent the past 3 hours clearing the porches, the driveway, everything. About killed me. But it has to be done because the sun will come out now at noon, melt it, and then when it refreezes at night, it's like solid, and there's no getting rid of it once that, even if it's an inch or two of snow like last week, if that stuff freezes. I went out in the backyard to take the trash out, stepped on it, and I have a downward slope in my yard. Started sliding, and I almost slid all the way across the property. So yeah, I spent some time making sure the porches were clear, the driveway's clear. That way, if the road gets clear, because the roads aren't, I ain't going nowhere. Uh, at least I can get out, get the cars out into the driveway if I have to, without any problems. Oh, ooh, needed that. Oh, yeah, but I'm exhausted. 10 o'clock, and I'm already shot for the day. Oh. All right, morning. We got some people in there. I don't know. I know the Carolinas got a lot of snow. I don't know about Tennessee, or I know South Carolina got some, but I don't know about Tennessee and that. Them guys got hit last week pretty bad, and I think it did snow in some areas that weren't doing good from last week. I seen some videos. Louisiana was pretty terrible down there. It's kind of like it was back in '08 when we got hit. All right, how you doing, guys? All right, morning. Okay. Now it snowed all day yesterday. It was light snow, with light, uh, powdery snow. Actually cleared the porches and the steps off with a leaf blower. Once we got it in the house, got it warm, and then cleared them off. We had to just shovel the bottom steps a little, but most of it we took off. The decks we cleared with a leaf blower. There we go. Good morning, Joe. Santa Fe got some. All right. Whew. No, I'm just winded. I was out there. It was almost 3 hours shoveling snow. I'm gonna be a hurting Coba. Probably go take a nap this afternoon. But had to get done because if it freezes over and then it's a nightmare. They know getting rid of it, and we ain't gonna hit the 40s till Wednesday. So I don't know. It looks like schools will be closed another 2 days this week. They were closed all last week. Because even when the hell do we go out? We went to the grocery store on Thursday, and it was still hairy in some spots. You know, wasn't easy. I guess they had a 100 car pile up down toward Charlotte yesterday, and they had to close 85 for a bit. They had 100 cars stuck. We had about 12. I'd say 11, 12. What we had. But yeah, they did. They had 100 car jam down there heading towards Charlotte, and that is always a bad Yeah, I don't know what it is here. It's not going to be high. Uh, Wednesday or Thursday, it's supposed to get up in the 40s. And then you get a clear day with no clouds, it'll melt that snow pretty easy. Um, but with this 18 degrees this morning when I went out there, so I got windburn on my face there, frostbite. But I got it all done and wrapped up by 10 o'clock, so I'm happy there. They ain't going nowhere. They, I think they plowed the major roads, and some up in the cities, they got the major roads plowed. But side streets, they won't start till later tonight, tomorrow. So, even if you can get into town, getting around, you can get stuck. Well, got a good turnout so far. You got 13 people. I guess people ain't really going out to enjoy the weather in the southeast, so we got a bunch of people tuned in here. So that's good. Well, they had the SHOT Show. I've been watching the SHOT Show videos. And really, other than some retro stuff, and there's some company that we got that guy in Charlotte that 3D prints the Scorpion receivers. And I guess he's 3D printing some sort of Steyr AEG receiver. And he's taking these parts kits from Indonesia or somewhere. See, the thing about them, the Steyr bullpups, is the full auto ones are really difficult to convert into semi-auto. There's something about them. I don't know. I guess they don't make some sort of a semi-auto receiver or something. I can't remember. The kits were basically floundering and not worth anything. Um, I think some of the major components have to have some sort of modification to get them to be classified as semi-auto. But however he's doing it, he's 3D printing the semi-auto receiver assembly, I guess, and he's putting one of these out for like $8. I always thought about maybe getting a Scorpion, but they had what's his name there, James Reeves or whatever. He went down there. Then there's a guy making a copy of the Japanese submachine gun. The Japs had some kind of weird ass submachine gun, 8mm Nambu. He's doing something like it in a 9mm, and it's got a 10-inch barrel, and then he just welds his tube on the end of the 10-inch barrel to go 16. And it's pretty neat with wooden stock. Use some sort of side load magazine. So there were several strange things coming out that are pretty wild. That's the stuff that caught my eye. And then again, well, I was looking for the Caltech 57 P57, but they're back up to 400. But I could have snagged one for 20, 30 off at PSA when they had a sale. But now Caltech wants a full shop for them, no discounts. You're getting you got to pay the whole 400 beans, and they got a little 380. It's similar to it. Uses a stripper clip. Those are available. I could order one now, So I may look into them Caltech. I wanted the 5.7, and now they got a 380. So they may be coming up. Yeah, well, that's Ohio. It's negative 27 back where I come from in New York. It never got to 16 degrees here 10 degrees, 8 degrees is a load of crap down here where I live. Friggin' raccoons feeding trays under a foot of snow and stuff. They don't even come out. So yeah, it's gonna, and the cold's going to Florida. They're having an iguana drop down there. It's down in the 30s down in Florida. So yeah, it's gonna be fun down there. Type 100, right? Yeah, you got it. But yeah, I've seen that, asking about guns. There's some new stuff out there, but nothing to drive me crazy. The only thing is, in the retro department, I want to get a dissipator, and PSA may make one. I was going to try to put one together, and I got some bits and pieces and stuff, but I just got to save my money up, or a couple more trips to the plasma bank, get some cash, get one of them. Oh, that's nice. Enjoy yourself down there. I guess my friend said it was a friend of mine. He took his parents. He lives here. He took his parents to his sister's house somewhere down in Florida. He's got a place on the Panhandle, but he went further south with his folks because they're in their 90s. And I talked to him yesterday. He said it was 57 down there. We'll see. Well, for some reason, the rear sight's set down in there. I was measuring it in that, which is a little odd. The lockup on the upper and lower is tight. The one on the 601 is a little loose, and the one on the prototype from Brownell is a little loose too. But with an AR-15, that just comes with the territory. Having a little bit of play in there. Bear Creek Arsenal ones, they really ain't got no play. They come with a damn AccuWedge. You can't get the gun apart. I had to take the AccuWedges out, okay, because they were tight without them. And even the lockup on the PSA lower on the uppers is good. So, I mean, if you got an issue with the quality, then just don't buy nothing from them. I got to go out when it's not sub-zero and I can feel my hands and sight it in. That one, I think I'm going to mount that scope on. I'm going to mount the scope on that one. That one I'm going to keep with that weird little scope I bought. Now, Brownell sells one supposedly made in the same Japanese factory that they were back in the 60s. And it looks the same as the one I got from China. I bought on Amazon for 100 beans, where the Brownells is 3.5. So we'll see how that works. And the AR scope system, where that bolt goes through there and you tighten it with this little fingers and spring thing, and that thing was never, everybody complains, oh, don't hold zero and this and that. The way that system mounts, they always sucked. Okay, even the original ones. It's something you got to fool with a lot. But that's what we're going to probably do with that. I'm going to get that scope on there and try to zero it in, find the ammo that barrel likes. Most of them, either PPU 55 grain with the 1 and 12s or the Winchester Overrun 55 grain. Shoots well in those 1 and 12s. 12 degrees. All right, that's about what it's here in North Carolina. Yeah, but PSA's making one. And they're doing it with the cutoff, where they machined off the thing for the forward assist. That's going to be pretty period correct. But he was saying something that he's not going to do 1 and 12s that much anymore because people don't buy them. He's going to be putting 1 and 7s on them, which isn't quite correct. But what the hell? I got a couple of them in 1 and 12, so I got plenty to fool with. Model 19. ARs, used ARs are kind of in the tank, but the old Smiths, if the bluing's good and it ain't been shot to where it's looser than shit, you know, the Smiths go for about 7 beans, depending on the model. I think I got a Model 19. My great uncle left me. It must have had about 5,000, 10,000 rounds through it. It still shoots. It's worn, finish is worn. The metal is worn from being drawn out of a holster for, I don't know, 20 years. He was on a sheriff's department. But the damn gun, worn as it is, still shoots. Right on the money and still works 100%. Okay. And I'd bet my life on that damn thing, and for what it is with the finish and the wear and that, it ain't worth much, but it's something my uncle gave me, and it's a damn good gun. Because I don't know, look up what they go for on True Gun Value. It's a free lookup. Look them both up, and they show you results from current auctions and stuff. So that's the best way to get a good price, and instead of somebody telling you, oh well, it's worth this, it's worth that. Find out what the hell people are paying for them. I did it with a Ruger Super Blackhawk or something that this old timer had, and it was made in '76, so it had the scroll on there, made in the 200th year of the United States of America. I remember those guns back when I was in high school. Ruger put that on all of their guns that were made in 1976. And I looked it up, and some guy's trying to offer them like $200-300 for it. It was about $5, $5.50, because it was in good shape. So that's a place to go and figure out if it's a deal, because that'll give you current prices. And those are common guns, so they should be there. You put something weird in there, like I put the Brownells prototype, see if I was getting a fair price for it. And something unusual in that, it'll just show you, but it won't give you no info if it's something rare and off the wall. But those two, they should pop up. So True Gun Value. It's a 1 in 7. I'll have a 1 in 9. I have on an A2 that I made, A2 type rifle I made years ago. And the reason I kept the Anderson budget gun that I got on a closeout price, it's a 1 in 8. And it likes that Turkish 62 grain bullet. It shoots that perfect out of that. Compared to all the other ammo. I use the GI ammo, and it don't shoot as well as it does with that Turkish ammo. But that Turkish ammo and some of my other guns that had a 1.7 twist didn't shoot worth a damn. So that's just the way it goes. Now there you go. You got somebody chiming in there. But like I said, go to True Gun Value and see what they go for. It might be a deal. I'm kind of leaning on what he says. The Smiths hold their value. People want them. Okay, the older ones, and you can get good money for them. There you go. Okay, so you still got power and you're in one piece there. Did you get snow? It snowed all day yesterday. It's this light, fluffy friggin' snow. And it added, I got a foot of snow. That's the most I've seen since I've lived here in 20 years. I think one time it snowed 4 inches, but then it went up to 40, 50 degrees a day 2 days later, and the stuff melted. This ain't going to happen here. the stuff from last week hasn't melted yet, and it turned into a solid chunk of ice on the ground. People can't, they didn't shovel their driveways or brush the steps off. And after 2 days, when it kind of melted a little and refroze, there's several people got hurt trying to get into their car. Okay, so that's why I was out shoveling snow for the last 3 hours. Me, okay. I did one of them. I did the prototype, because the way they described it in the auction I bought, and I didn't give a jack shit. It's unfired, because I looked at the one I fired some rounds through the chrome line barrel, and it's not as shiny as it is. And these here, they're shiny, they're bright, they're good. I mean, they ain't got the chatter marks like the Bear Creeks, but the Bear Creeks shoot good. Smiths. I like Smiths better than the Colts. Colts have some, especially like the older ones. This old fella had an older one. It was a beater. I forget what it was, but it was in 32 long, and the finish was shot on it. Somebody was gonna try to re-blue it and didn't, and I was gonna pick it up. It was in good shape. The bar was good. The action was fine. Colts have this weird thing that when you pull the trigger on them, double action, something moves in. I've always liked the Smith and Wesson action. Now I know people. I knew this one guy worked with my dad. He had nickel-plated Colt, Python, Anaconda, had a damn display box in his den or gun room, wherever it was, and he was proud of them guns. And that, and they're nice guns. Colts are nice guns. I'm telling you that they're nice. I just prefer the Smiths. Yeah, we got like about a foot accumulated here, which is unreal. 2 inches ain't bad. As long as you brush off the steps and stuff on the porch. Of course, I don't know if you got anywhere to go. I don't, but I just clear the driveway anyway, so it melts faster when I do go. Did go up to Greensboro, go grocery shopping on Thursday. It wasn't too terrible, but you had to be careful. There's spots on the side streets that if you ain't careful, you can get screwed up. $4473. I'm not quite sure what that is. The same as it was in 2003. Don't know. But yeah. Ugh. I got something interesting somebody asked me to look at for them. Repro Winchester 1876 and 5070 or something. The guy had some issues with it, took it to this gunsmith, and it's all screwed up. And now he wants me to eyeball it for him. So I gotta wait. When the weather breaks, he'll drop that off. But the only thing is, I don't think I can do the videos on YouTube. I may have to do them on Rumble. I know some people don't like going to Rumble because it's not on par with YouTube, but I think I can take it apart and do all the work and stuff. But he was showing me where the primer strike is way the hell off, which I think the bolt, he said that when he bought it 20 years ago, that he's had issues with it. And I think they got the firing pin hole off center, so I'm thinking maybe just replace the friggin' bolt altogether. And then whoever he took it to put an extractor in it, the extractor rips the rim of the case whenever he uses it. The elevator don't come up, and all kinds of bizarre stuff going on. So I gotta look and see the hell's going down with this. So that may be something I'll be working on for a while. Something different than the ARs. Get back into the antique weapons for a bit. But other than that, like I said, them two pistols, a couple more retros. I want to finish out my retro collection, which it's not cheap. But I got that side charge in Bear Creek Arsenal. I had that weird scope where the latch comes down. You can't get the rear charging, can't get your fingers on the rear charging handle and get the right eye relief. But it was pretty damn good scope too for 100 beans. You know, 3 to 9 on a damn budget AR. That's all you need. I got one of them other discount scopes I bought from PSA on the sale. You know, it's a 1 to 5, 1.5 to 5 or something. But they were about the price of one of them hokey little reflex sights or dot sights. So we'll see how that works. Got that on the Anderson. I got the ammo at work, so once I sight it in, I'm going to take the Anderson out and shoot it 100, 200 yards, see what the hell it does. Start getting some long range accuracy. 200 yards is the most I can shoot with them in my range. So we're going to get some of that in once the weather breaks. To take the retros out and see how they do once we get the Battle Zero set and all that other weird crap. Find some kind of ammo that works halfway decent in them. Then I'll go out and see. I might do a test. See, because the early M16s and that, they're not. The whole concept behind it was a simple, cheap gun that can be mass produced. That was the whole ideology after World War II. Okay, is to make a simple battle implement that's inexpensive. I think on my buddy's loadout back in the 80s when I went to Fort Bragg, he showed me the dot matrix thing. They print out every piece of equipment that he's issued when he was in the 82nd, and it had the price listed, because if you damage the shit or lose it or sell it in a pawn shop and you ain't got it, you got to pay them back. They take it out of your pay. And I think the M16, it was like $100 some. It was under $200 his rifle. Them Kevlar helmets they were issuing, those are like $120. Them Fritz helmets, they were brand new. Back around the early 80s, they started issuing them Kevlar helmets. And he told me there was something with the chin straps that when you jumped out of the airplane, the friggin' wind would hit you and pop that chin strap and you'd lose the helmet. Okay, come flying off your head. You know, and God knows where it went. There's a lot of guys that were losing them helmets. And they had to end up choking that money up for the damn helmets they lost. Yep, government didn't pay much for them ARs. So that's why when they're used and shot out, like in that movie, Lord of War there or whatever, they sold them. They took them all over to Beirut. That's back when we went to Beirut. And the Jersey was there. The Marine had a presence there after the Marine Corps bombing where they killed all them guys back in the early 80s. And I guess it was cheaper for the government because when they load the jarheads out on amphib ships, they're not on it. You know, the helicopter carriers, they're not on there. And when they deploy them into the fleet marine, them guys got to bring everything. The friggin' desks, and they put the rifles in these big cages. I seen them. They're all put in this cage. They got to bring their guns, their equipment, and desks. And in the old days, they had to put all that shit on pallets, wrap it up, and haul it off the ship, put it back on the ship. That's why the new amphibs, they come with a Connex box you just bring on a trailer. And they got a deck in there. You can just plug the damn things in and connect them to power and that, and your office and your headquarters is all right there. And you just lock it the hell back up, unbolt it, and take it off. A lot nicer. Yeah, they bring all their crap with them, and they figured that bringing this stuff back, you know, they were getting A2s. They like in the movie, they said it would cost more for them to ship the guns back to the United States to destroy them than just to abandon them there and then, you know, kind of sell them on the black market is what they did. And that's where them parts kits were coming from. Okay, because wherever the hell them things went, they weren't in U.S. hands, and that's where all them parts kits were coming at that one time. Administer Narcan. Oof. Where was that? Locally? I think I know who I'm talking to. Yeah. You had to go do that crap. Yes, holy shit. In the middle of a snowstorm? Ah. Yeah, like I said, I'll either put it on the MeWe page and probably run them on Rumble. That way I ain't going to have no bullshit strikes or suspensions or whatever the hell. And I can sit there and take it apart and explain it. They're not a complex gun. I don't know what, I think the bolt, the thing that the firing pin is off, the bolt was junk from the beginning. Years ago, them guns were all kind of screwed up 20 years ago. A lot of them Italian guns were garbage, especially the larger guns. And he had to have the barrel pulled off, have to have him face the thing one thread distance and recut the threads and then put it back and get it all rehead spaced and that because they screwed up reaming the chamber out or did it wrong. And he's had the gun worked on, but now he can't find nobody to work on it. You know, if it isn't an AR-15, all these quote unquote gunsmiths that you go to, you know, he's going, these people 80, 90 years old, you know, they're, so I don't know. That I either can fix it or I not, but it'd be something interesting to fool with. No, nothing's changed. The only thing with AR is if a state has a ban on them, okay, depends where you live. See, North Carolina doesn't have any bans or anything, so it's just, you know, nothing's changed unless your state has a law. Now, Virginia's trying to pass some damn laws that ban a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, it depends on where you live, but federally or something like that. Nothing has changed since 2023. Yeah, nothing that I know. Like I said, it depends on what state you live in. Oh, not the range. Fucking security job. Yeah, that's true. Well, opioid overdose could be fentanyl, or doesn't actually have to be heroin. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not up on all those things. Yeah, then nothing's changed. If your state laws hasn't changed, you just go buy it. No big deal. If they got them in the gun store, you know, I wouldn't worry about it. Mean like handguns or something? Rifles, you just do the background check. We at one time you had to go get a permit to purchase a handgun, and that varied by county. I can go get four of them. When a gun show was coming up, they'd give me four of them. They're $5 a piece. Now it was is the sheriff ran the background check on you, and you paid them $5, and they gave you a little ticket that allowed you to buy the gun. But then once they changed the law here in this state, and once you got a concealed carry permit, that's the same as an instant background check. Uh, Even though now they got constitutional carry or some crazy stuff, I still keep the permit because whenever I go buy a gun, I just give them the both of them and that's it. And the valid permit. And there's a thing on the form where they put that in there for the background check. All right, good. Well, I don't know. Like I said, when I used to get all it is the sheriff did a background check on you. See, I think they did that as a way if you recently committed a crime or something, uh, you wouldn't want to be down at the sheriff's office if they was looking for your ass. Yeah, all right, so you'd be okay. Yeah, the hammerless ones, I think I fired one once or twice. I had friends over the years. I fired old Colt detective models and that I fired, used to be when you go to range with people, they let you try your guns out, their guns out. There's a lot of guns I fired that I did not, ever own. But yeah, I have. I can't remember every model, but that's the one that's hammerless or has the hammer concealed. Those are nice if you're carrying the thing in a jacket pocket or in an ankle holster or something. I know Taurus makes some that are hammerless or without an exposed hammer. Hey, there he is. Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Bear Creek Arsenal, when it comes to their barrels, they used to get components from, bought a lot of pistol barrels, like the Glock style pistol barrels from them. Um, you got one that works good, you know. Some of them shoot good, some of them don't. But you got that third thing about them. You got 30 days to send the damn thing back, no questions asked. So that's something, I don't think anyone does that. Okay, so that's how they kind of make up for it. And right now, with the market slow, they have the lowest prices you can find there. And that side charging handle, actually, it's not a bad gun. Okay, I got to go out and do some work with it and that, but just from the first thing there, the way the first build is, the bolt carrier group and shit's a little bit different. They got one big, huge hole instead of the small holes to relieve the gas piston. But even so, that one's slightly overgassed with that carbine length. I strongly suggest if you find one of the uppers, get a mid length. Okay. Um, and what it is the ones not selling are the cheapest ones you can get. Okay. So the carbine lengths are a bit overgassed. Got to put a heavier buffer in there. But if you get a mid length, it'll probably be fine right out the gate with the PSA lower. Well, I guess there's a couple other companies that make them other than them. I think they were the ones, because it was a long time ago, because they're local here. Okay, and I think from where I live, from Greensboro, it's about a 20, 30-minute drive to get down to where they are. So they're pretty close. Matter of fact, the guy I work with in Burlington was going to take a job with them down there. And I remember when they come out with that side charger, it didn't have the little finger thing that the older ones that had something that you bolted in there, round knob like. I remember they were showing them off at a gun show. But I wasn't interested in it. They were a fairly new company, and a lot of the stuff, they had a lot of problems back in the early days. The one thing is, I think they do everything in house, like the firing pins. That one set of guns had the early ones where I can tell they were heat treated, they were baked in an oven, and they weren't chrome plated. And then these last two I got, the firing pins are machined, but it looks like it's machined out of a harder material, or they may have heat treated them or treated them in a different way because the finish on them looks a lot different. Those that were brownish, that's how when something's heat treated in an oven, like small parts, you put them in a giant basket and they heat them in the oven and then cool them down or whatever the hell. They can set the oven to change the temperature at times, and your parts come out heat treated, and they have that brownish color to them. These other ones had a different type of color to them, and they could have either been treated in a different process or something, or made out of a different material. I don't know, because a lot of people said the firing pins would break. That's a weak point, but I don't know what you can get a firing pin for. Simple part to get. Well, popularity, 18s are hard to get. I always like the 18-inch barrel with a mid-length gas system. 16s are the most popular because you don't have to get them registered. And I guess if you watch the videos, the 14.5s is supposedly like on the M4, the ideal length, but the only problem is going with a 14.5-inch barrel, you either have to get it registered or you got to permanently attach something 2 inches long to bring it out to 16 inches. And that's got to be pinned and welded. So whatever suppressor mounting flash hider or whatever you get put on there. I guess PSA makes a bunch of guns with 14-inch barrels. That's how they sell them as rifles, as they put that on there. But I'm not going to go get a suppressor and all that shit. Lyman made one that I use that looks like the bullet. And I don't know if Lee makes one. Lee will make a mold that mimics a Full Metal Jacket bullet. But I had a Lyman mold I used. I kind of didn't like the cast bullets. You had to gas check them and lube them. But yeah, Lyman made one, and Lee, what little I use the carbine, I just buy the bullets like I did. I gave up on casting them a long time ago. Okay, there you go. Lee. Well, you keeping it as a pistol, or you got to go register it as a short barrel rifle? Now, I don't want anything on the registry. Versus, they're a good gun. They're an inexpensive gun. I know several people that carry them. I think I fired one. The only thing about the Versas is I've heard complaints that people, that's another thing. Everybody does these 5,000 round torture tests and that. The average guy, I know a guy who bought a damn really nice Springfield Armory. I forget what model it was. 9mm pistol. That was 4 years ago. He bought that gun. I gave him, he wanted to buy a couple boxes of ammo from me. I gave him some reloads I had. I said, here, try these on. And I mean, he had that gun for 2 years, carried it around in his truck with a loaded magazine, and he never fired the thing in 2 years. I don't know if he's fired 10 rounds out of that gun yet or at all. Okay. And something like a Bersa, you got somebody takes it out, shoots a few rounds to it every now and again and carries it, no big deal. But I guess if you go, I've heard complaints that if you go and really use that gun, shoot it an awful lot, like, go out and practice all the time, put 100, 200 rounds through it. Once you get in there into a few thousand, I've heard of the frames cracking and that. And the reason you don't hear that much of it is a lot of people, like I said, that buy them. I know a guy that carries one. I don't think he's put 300 rounds through the frigging gun the whole time he's had it. He's had it for years. So I don't know. I was tempted to get one of them because they make several different models, and some of them kind of caught my eye. And they're not that expensive. I was thinking of getting one of them, but that's all I can tell you about them. Yeah, see, that's the damn thing. The good crimp on gas checks, because like the Lyman gas checks, if your alloy's even off a few thousandths, the friggin' things drop off, or if you load them in the case, the gas check will get stuck in the case if you got to take the bullet out or something. You're kind of, depending on how much you shoot, you're better off just buying the damn bullets. That's what I do. I don't even fool with casting for that anymore. The only thing I cast for is something I can't buy a bullet for. That'll work good. No, it's not going to for a couple of weeks. That's why I had to go out and shovel snow for about 3 hours this morning. Because once it'll warm up, the sun will come out, stuff will melt a little bit on the top, and then once it freezes again tonight, goes back down to 7 degrees or whatever. That snow is gonna be it's iced over. You know, you got to go out there with a sledgehammer to break that stuff up. Okay. Once that sun hits it and melts it, you get a sheet of ice over there and a little bit of wind. And I know some people got hurt just going out to their cars this week because they didn't brush snow off the steps of their porch or clear it out in the driveway. About kill themselves out there. And it could be, those guns, if he's running hollow points or them weird blunt bullets in there, some of them guns don't like it. Yeah, them TS 1911s are good. You know, I ain't got no problem with the two I got. Morning. Yep, Barry's bullets work very well in the pistols and probably in the carbine too. I don't know if I've used them for the carbine. Yeah, Sierra makes them. They soft points. Ooh. That I haven't heard. I don't really believe Colt would have sold their machinery to Turkey. The Turks went and built these weapons factories with all brand new equipment. Okay. And generally, a skilled machinist in that country, like most of Eastern Europe and stuff, only makes about $350 a month in a salary. And I heard they just put the finest CNC stuff in there and set up everything to where the stuff is machined out and, all their machinery is good. The Turks have a pretty good small arms trade. And see, the thing about the shotguns are a different story than pistols or ARs or them H&K MP5 copies and that they make. That's a whole different ball game. The shotguns, when they machine out the receivers, you got to have that just right, or else like I found with them cheap pump shotguns is they warp a little. Shotguns are a little tough, and then they're over and unders. If you don't solder the barrels straight, that could be a disaster too. There's some things like a 1911 been around 100 years. It's all pretty simple, solid machining. It's kind of hard to screw it up, and they make a lot of Beretta copies too, which are good. I've heard some people have some quality control issues. The hell was it? Somebody bought a gun. Oh yeah, the like I tested that one. the 5.7. The one guy that tested the gun said I really liked it, but he knew somebody had ordered one. And he looked down the barrel. There was no rifling in the barrel. You know, that's how he got a brand new gun from him. So you never know. Yeah, how close it is, I never pulled one apart or had to change anything out of it, so I don't know how close they are. We can't ship anything into the state that is considered a part. So in other words, if I sent you a barrel or a spring or something, it's against the law. That ain't cool. Yeah, the ballista Mausers, those are actually Colt 1924s that they licensed to manufacture down there. They paid Colt for a license to make them, and it was some kind of Colt civilian model. They're actually a type of Colt pistol, an early one. I think 1920 something or whatever. It's slightly different than a government model, but yeah, they go for a lot of money now. They used to be, well, I never bought. They weren't dirt cheap when they were around, but they were like a couple $100 back in the day, you know. But they were a popular surplus item. That I don't know, so I never had one without a bolt. You can try it. I don't know how close they machine them. Most Mausers you could do it. The Germans are pretty good with them, and so that I really can't answer 100% or give you any guidance. Yeah, they're pretty strong. You can try it. If the headspace wrong, the gun will probably separate the case before it would blow up. They tried blowing them up and they couldn't uh, after the war. They're the strongest action. They're the strongest gun made in World War II. So yeah, I don't know. I thought Colt still made them or whatever. Everything in Colt's catalog has a pretty good price tag. Yeah, see, like he said, I don't know how if somebody put a part in a box and sent it to you, how are they gonna know what the hell's in there? If it's a part, a spring or a hammer or whatever. The addresses match your ID, and the company must collect info and a waiver. So they're making well. They told me in New York, if you go into the store to buy a box of 22s, you have to fill out whatever the thing is. It's just like buying a gun. You have to fill out paperwork like you're buying a gun. Then they do a background check on you, and then you come back in 24 hours to pick up the ammo. You can't go into I think there's a Field and Stream up there still, or Bass Pro or something. Sporting goods store by the city. That's the only place I think you can buy guns. I don't even know if they got any small dealers anymore. But yeah, in New York, my friend told me, yeah, he said, I got a 22 rifle. If I want to buy a box of 22 shells, I go into the store or Walmart or whatever the hell and buy the ammo, fill out the thing. They do a background check, and then you got to come back the next business day and pick the ammo up. Okay. Like that's going to stop you from doing something. Well, old military guns, they take the bolt out. Somebody probably took the friggin' bolt out so you couldn't shoot it and then lost the bolt. That's probably what it is. Because when they used to ship the guns, the reason finding a matching gun is so hard is when they imported them, they'd yank all the bolts out of the rifles, ship the rifles without the bolts in them, and then that's how these Carcanos come in, and they're not matched to the gun. The guns come in one crate, the bolts come in another, and you just put them in there. Yeah, but I don't think for the Type 99s, the older guns were turned into training guns. And the ones that were real bad or the last ditch were the ones that were making with cast iron receivers in the last days of the war, are the ones that'll blow up on you. And they're hard to find. They're actually older guns. My woolly mammoth tooth be okay in the mail. Like I said, I've never seen the older guns. Mostly the Type 38s were training rifles. I never heard of Type 99s being training rifles or blank firing student guns. Yeah, that's all true. Oh yeah, yeah, that's fun. That's why, yeah, trading right now. If you were selling and you got $100 for some silver, you made out. Now, if the shit's going to jump back up, we'll have to wait and see. What they've done is it cleared out all the paper. The paper market's crumbling, but the shortage that hasn't gone away. Okay, so they can do whatever they want, and that's how they're artificially lowering the price back down. But what'll happen to it, I have no idea. Okay, the whole global economy and money and stuff is changing. It's never going to be the same again. Okay, so be prepared. You know, there's no way you can control it and getting worked up over it, but I have no idea. We'll see what happens because if you watch all the videos out there, your brain will explode. Okay, because I have people that, they talk a good thing and say this, say that, and you know, you don't know. The people who run J.P. Morgan and stuff know, but the average guy, no. So visually, how does it visually differ? And where did you get the information from? I'd be curious. Is there a reference book or something that explains this? Oh yeah, you know. I mean, I ain't got a ton of the stuff, and what I paid for it at 80 some dollars, it's still more. $75 is still more than what I got into it, so that don't matter to me. But if you go to buy it, it's still over 100. If you go to any online dealer, it's still over $100 an ounce. Okay, that's something you gotta think about. I think I seen some in the 90s, but we'll see what happens next week. And all of this was done by the 30th or the end of the month because the banks got to do their annual allocation to get their ratings. So a lot of this hocus pocus crap was done because of that. And some people warned about that you'd see this. Broken nail. So yeah, it's all part of the game. Yep. Yeah, that's true. That's why they had silverware. That's why your dinner plates and stuff were made out of pewter. Wearable protection. That's another use. That is better than not having it. All right, then that should be easy to find the video where Ian explains all of that to you to answer your questions. Because I've seen some trainers and I've had them, but they're all Type 38s. Never had one that was a Type 99. Not good. Okay, that's national ordinance. Those are some castings they had done in Spain, and they're pretty hokey. I would avoid it. And because I heard of people having problems with them. I haven't heard or seen one of them in a long time either. But they do pop up. I think Mike B got a hold of one when he was just starting collecting and didn't know what it was and kind of got burned on a deal. Yeah, low 90s, all right, but it, all of this, there's still a shortage. There's still a lot of weird stuff. They're losing control, and it depends what the Chinese do, but it can shoot back up again. Best thing to do is you wait till about your time. It would be later. It's when you get up tomorrow morning, go hit Kitco and see what happens. Because if you go to Kitco right now, I think it's still frozen from a Friday. I'll get the number. Yep. You had a high of 118.58 and a low of 73.67. That is and what it leveled out at is 85.15 is what it is now on Kitco. So from its high down $30.32. And it says the market in Hong Kong will open in 7 hours, just about. So 7 hours from now, when they open up there in the land of pork fried rice or whatever the hell they're in Asia, you'll see what, because I guess that market is, that's Hong Kong. Hong Kong or Shanghai? I don't know, wherever. One of them Asian markets. Then you'll see it $30. Yep, down. None of it's good. All right. Yeah, get a lot of snow up there. Yeah, because somehow what hurts you as a business, okay, is if for some reason they find you're doing it or they check your records, the business will be held liable and all this other stuff, okay? Truthfully, what's sent to you, and there's people send pot and stuff in the damn mail and through UPS, okay? Because I knew this one kid I worked with him. He worked in the UPS shipping center, and he said I could smell it in the boxes as they went by on the conveyor belt. That's how much. So I don't know. It's true. They don't search everything. I think the things they search for is explosives and the hell was that powder, anthrax or something. So I don't really know if they search boxes for parts. What if they're car parts? I don't know. Okay, the American legions, see what's happening is these legions close. I think we got 10 or 20 rifles. We got 10 or 20 M1 Garands locked in a vault somewhere in the building. And they take them out on Memorial Day and they fire blanks. Or if they fire blanks, there's a group of guys that go around and do the ceremonies for when people pass away. And there's a squad of guys that go out and do that, do a 21 gun salute or fire the 3 rounds at the funeral. And all that stuff you put in a requisition to the U.S. government, and they send you 30-06 blanks and that. Yeah, most legions, and those are still government property. They're on loan to us. So if the Legion closes its doors and we sell the building or whatever, those firearms do get sent back to the Army. So that's probably where a lot of these firearms are coming from, because a lot of these organizations are closing down. Ours is on the verge of shutting down. Um, if it wasn't, there's one guy that donated before he passed away. He was I guess he was a multi-millionaire. I don't know what this guy did, some kind of businessman and that. He come in there once. He was older than dirt and crazy. Come in there. Uh, had a bunch of problems with the building because we have a nice large building. Okay, but you don't have the membership or the activities going on to generate the money to maintain just the building itself, nevertheless, anything else, because we don't pay property tax and all this other stuff, but you still have an electric bill, you still have certain bills, and you do have to upkeep a pretty large facility, heat it, everything else. You know, we got to buy air conditioning, heaters, plumbing issues, okay, are nonstop there in the older building. But the guns, if we folded up, closed the building down, and didn't do anything or had a building of our own, those guns would have to be, if the posts ceased to exist. And I belong to several posts that just, they're not there anymore. They don't exist. The members all died, old age. Yeah, that stuff's got to be turned back in. Now, the reason they make new ones is because the demand is there, and you don't know if they have a whole bunch of parts and stuff, okay, uh, to use uh, to build them. So that might be a good, but nothing wrong with a new one. That's true. 8 ounces, all right. Yeah, I don't know how all that's going to work out. There were a couple attempts to remake new ones back in the 80s. The Israelis did, and somebody else, and it never really worked out well for they didn't sell. Of course, M1s are fairly common too. Yeah, that's another place you should look out, the cryptocurrencies. Yeah, that's about 10, 11. That's what we got down Pleasant Garden, Shanghai or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, that M14, whatever I had rebuilt from that Chinese piece of crap kit, because they put a Arms Corps National Match receiver on that junk Chinese thing. I don't think I paid $200. I basically bought a National Match receiver with a bunch of crap parts on there, but I had it rebuilt by Fulton Armory. It still shoots good to this day. They're good hunting around. What are you hunting? Bear, moose? I mean, 50-70, I like it. I can shoot the 50-70 better out of my old guns than the 45-70. I use smokeless powder. 55 Snyder, I shot them out of a converted, I think I got an Indian one or whatever one. they got. It's a nice shape. I paid a little bit more than I should have, but it shoots well. And the Snider, that's pretty simple to load up, you know, and you're just firing a Civil War style cartridge out of there. They're accurate enough with black powder. That one I do use black powder in them. 5070, I use smokeless powder, and I get good accuracy with them. Yeah, if you get your ammo right, they're good for hunting. Yeah. There you go. Franklin Arsenal. Hat. Yeah, I got that at a rally in Greensboro. It's a good hat. Costs $25. With modern day machinery, I'm taking full on 5-axis, 4-axis, and metal. I ain't talking about the Garands. Oh. Yeah, the 5070 is a good cartridge. Okay, I like it better than the 4570. That reminds me, I gotta dig all them guns out and go through them all, start shooting them again. I sold a few of them. I had about half dozen different trapdoors. Still have to go shoot that Lee Metford or that Lee Remington Lee in 4570. I like to shoot that thing. Yeah, I got a guy who was asking me about it. He got an Argentine one. They're pretty good. The regular Spanish Remington ones, yeah. But I shoot that. Matter of fact, I might have to load up some ammo again. Don't know. Gotta see. Gotta get this weather breaking the weather. See what kind of insane stuff is just going on in the world. I was gonna try to get out last summer and shoot some black powder stuff. I'll try it again, I guess this summer. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the bullet weights are impressive, even at slow velocities. You know, a lot of damage. Yeah, I suppose it would be different than how they were made back in the 40s. Mm, MAP program. Don't really know what that is. But I don't know. I don't know what the future is. I got mine that I got from them, and that's about it. I didn't get a carbine from them. Oh, of course, I had one. I still got mine. So once I get one of these hard to find guns, and the prices, the people are paying 1,500, 1,800 for a grand. I think I had 4 bills in the mine, 4 or 5. That's pretty good shape. I had to take it out again. I took it out this summer and shot it. I had a video of me shooting it a little bit with some reloads. I hope so. That's not what the weather weasel says on Storm Chasers there. He's, I mean, and they talk so fast. What the fuck? But yeah, there's more cold weather coming down in here. There's something happening up north. Where you're going to get some cold days coming. You don't want a welded receiver. They'll eventually shift and warp on you. Cut filled welds with a new barrel. No, you don't want welded receivers. Anybody that I had one once, and the gun worked for a while, then it didn't work. Then I couldn't sell the damn things. I'd end up selling it for parts. That's right. Is that Groundhog Day? Puxatony Phil. I should get a damn groundhog, take him to the bar tomorrow if we could get there. That's about what it is. If you had a strong back, I mean, we did that when I was a kid. So we always had honest money. Didn't get it from the narcotics trade or whatever the hell. I never had to ask my old man for nothing. I mowed lawns, shoveled driveways, stacked firewood, cut firewood, did all kinds of shit. When I was in my 20s, I used to help a guy. He'd go cut down trees. I used to go do that on the weekends. Honest work never really hurt you, but the way the world has become now, I don't know. Life has changed. Oh yeah, there ain't nobody using them no more. I think the Greeks was the last big batch. We got some from South America back in the 80s, and Korea. I guess Korea had a bunch of them. Was supposed to bring them in, but our wonderful President Obama put the kibosh on that deal, and there's still a ton of them in the Philippines rusting away in the piles in the jungle. So you never know. Yeah. Yeah, I smoke cigars. Why? That I don't know. I can't give you times on that. Who's building them with welded receivers? Okay, Rewelds HK. Are you talking about? All right, let's get something straight. Some sheet metal receivers are welded. You get an M1 Garand that's been demilled and sawed in half, and you take 2 receiver ends. You used to be able to buy them 40 years ago, and somebody sits there, machines them, and welds them together. That is what I'm talking about. Okay, not a gun that normally is welded together. Okay, you don't take guns chopped in half and re-weld them like an M1 Garand or something. It don't work. Whatever whatchamacallit there has on sale. I don't know. Whatever I usually go to oh, I can't remember the name now. It's up in Burlington. They got a place. Could have been true. Rocky Patel. I smoked them. They're good. I don't know what this last batch I bought. I bought a couple bundles of something. Can't remember. The weather. I like sitting there, have a beer, fire up the cigar, and my pets hear my voice and smell the cigar smoke, and they come running for dinner, come creeping out of the woods, hang out in the yard. All right. Well, then an hour and a half. Baccarat is good also. I've smoked them all. Basically, I get what the hell's on sale. I forget what I had here. I got the box. They had some closeouts when I went there. JR Cigars. That's where I go. They had some closeouts. They had these here. I got a box of these. I kind of like them. And I got some other ones that were flavored. I forget from where. I used the boxes to put my silver in. I don't have any one particular brand. Sometimes I go in there and find something odd like this on sale and I'll buy it and smoke it. Whatever. But the brands you guys mentioned, I smoke them too. But it's getting hour and a half. I'm gonna get going. The crowd has kind of backed down. I'm tired. I gotta go rest after shoveling snow and that. See what happens the rest of the day. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up. We had a good conversation in that. And, I'll see you fellas next Sunday.